I'm Pauline Pollard, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the creator of Empowered Parent Confident Child program, which is a 3-month course that I work with clients privately, one-on-one. And today's Facebook Live is about positive parenting moments. That's what this content will be about. And positive parenting moments are something that I created with my children, where I like to use snippets throughout the day that I can actually connect with my kids just for 5 minutes, just to talk about life in general, challenges that might be coming up for them, and lessons that they can learn from it. And these snippets throughout the day plant the seeds of wisdom for our children. The way that I see parenting is a two-way thing. We teach our children and they teach us. And we learn from our children and they learn from us. So these positive parenting moments are times that we can spend with our children where we're creating a really lovely bond with them, and we're able to impart wisdom to them. They're able to see things from a different perspective and impart wisdom back for us. So it's a two-way thing, and it's a really beautiful way of connecting and having this really strong bond with our children. So today I'll be talking about judgment. Now, it's a really interesting topic, judgment. I think you'll agree with me on that one. Whenever we're placing judgment on someone or something, we're actually showing our own inadequacies. What that means is that if someone is doing something or saying something that really pushes our own buttons, we have an emotional reaction. And when we have that emotional reaction, it's letting us know that we have unresolved issues within ourselves in regards to what that person is saying or doing. So that's where we take back our own responsibility and take back our own power, and we're able to see things from the perspective of, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this person? Rather than trying to change the person, because we can never change someone else or change someone else's behaviour, but we can look at ourselves and say, okay, what does this mean for me, and what can I do about it for myself, and how can I clear this emotional charge that I have around what someone else is doing or saying? And that's a really beautiful lesson that we can teach our children at a really young age. Just really simple words and a simple way of connecting with our kids and explaining that to them. Because then when they're in the playground, and kids will always be kids that will say and do things that will really push your child's buttons, but if they can see what that child is doing and saying from a different perspective. So the two perspectives, firstly about how it's teaching them something about themselves, but also seeing it from the perspective of the child who's acting out. That child is acting out because they are in pain in some way. They don't feel good enough about themselves, they don't feel worthy enough about themselves, or there's something going on that's a deeper issue that's happening for them. And that's why they're behaving the way that they're behaving, because they're trying to actually rid themselves of this pain, this void that they're feeling within themselves. And that's how some children can react and respond to feeling feeling inadequate within themselves. So to teach our children things from a new perspective is really important. The other thing that is that I love working with is energy, and getting children to tap into that energy of judgment. Okay, so when you actually are judging someone, feel into your body and get in touch with what your body is communicating to you. How are you feeling when you're judging that person? Because in reality, judgment is actually a very restrictive energy, and generally what you'll feel is that you'll feel this like heaviness in your body, contraction, you feel a little bit, something's not quite right. And the reason why that happens is because we're out of alignment with our own truth. So getting our children in touch with how their bodies are communicating to them will be a really big plus for you down the track for many issues that may come up for your child. But at an early age, getting in touch with, okay, does this feel good when I'm judging someone, or does it feel good when I'm actually being empathic towards someone else's situation, and feel the difference in their body between those two energies. So there are three main forms of judgment that I'm talking about today. The first one is judging others, which I've just spoken about. The second one is judging ourselves, and how we judge ourselves is through our critical mind chatter. And generally that will happen when we are in a stressful situation, okay? And when we're in a stressful situation, that's when all this stuff comes up that we never even realised that we had, and we'll be like, oh, I'm so stupid, I should have done it differently, or, you know, oh, I always do it that way, or I should have done this, or I could have done better that way, and, you know, all the shoulds and coulds come up. And that's the best time. It's a great opportunity for you then to be able to see what this negative mind chatter that you have. And then when we're actually aware of what the mind chatter is, we're able to actually do something about it to shift that energy. And I have many tools that I use with my clients one-on-one to help, first of all, identify those beliefs, and then help to shift the energy around those beliefs. Because what happens is when you don't release the energy, you keep getting drawn back into the past situation or the past event that emotion was originally created. And that's why we see patterns in our behaviour ongoing. So in order to clear that energy, it's really important. Now, the third type of judgment that I'm going to talk about today is a judgment around an event or situation. And judging that event or situation as being good or bad. The thing that we want to be really aware of is that when we say, oh, that's so good, that event is really good, and then, oh no, that event's really bad, that's when our children are getting onto this emotional roller coaster. And so we are driven by what's going on externally and what's out of our control. And basically, our children will be like, oh, fantastic, you know, I've been invited to Joe's party, and it's outdoors, and it's a soccer game, and we're going to have so much fun. And then as it gets closer to Joe's party, the weather starts not looking that fantastic, and then Joe's party actually gets rained out, and it's like, oh no, the doom and gloom, you know, oh, it's raining, and, you know, and our kids are on this constant roller coaster if we keep judging what the circumstances are. Things that are out of our control, you really don't want to classify as good or bad. The point is we don't know the full picture, and there are times, I'm sure you can remember, that when a situation didn't seem that good at the time, but with hindsight we look back and we go, oh my goodness, this happened better than I ever imagined, you know? And when those moments happen, I call them winks from the universe. Because we keep in that energy of allowing something even better to happen. And when we're in that energy, we can't be in that energy when we're in the doom and gloom and looking at the problem and trying to solve a problem. We will never be in that energy. But when we're in that energy of expecting something better to happen, then we open ourselves up to allowing all the amazing possibilities to flow into our life. And so that is so key for our children, to be able to show them how to get off that emotional roller coaster. It's not about suppressing their emotions, because I am all for children expressing their emotions in the moment. And just a little fact for you, that when a child is, or when anyone is really feeling an emotion, it takes about 90 seconds to actually really feel into that emotion, and then for the energy of the emotion to actually shift and transmute. And that's something that I talk about to my kids very often. So they might come to me feeling angry or overwhelmed or upset or stressed or whatever it might be, and I'll say to them, okay, my darling, don't suppress the emotion. Feel it in its intensity. But remember, it only takes 90 seconds for it to shift. And when you feel that shift, let me know, and we can deep breathe together. And it's as simple as that. and children are so in tune with energy. They surprise me every single day how quickly they can shift their energy. So don't underestimate how tuned in our children are with their bodies, with their feelings, and with the energy, and being able to shift it. So an action step that I would like to give you in regards to situations that may occur where your child is really looking forward to something and then it doesn't turn out the way that they expect it to, there's a couple of really simple things that you can do. The first one is to say to the event, what happens, that's interesting. Or, how can I see this from a different perspective? Asking that question, how can I see this from a different perspective? Or just looking at the situation and saying, that's interesting. It's not good, it's not bad. And by you doing this, what it does is it actually takes you out of the energy of the drama of what's going on, and you can step back and you become the witness to what's going on. And when you become the witness, you're not drawn into that emotional drama. You're able to actually have a lot more clarity and see things from a new perspective. And then the second thing that I'd love you to do is this little mantra that my kids and I made up when we were actually talking about this in the car. And this is how it goes. I know something greater is about to manifest. I am so excited to see what this will look like in my life. Okay, I'll say it one more time. I know something greater is about to manifest, and I am so excited to see what this will look like in my life. Now, take this away with you. Use this with your children. And what that does, it's a really beautiful, uplifting energy. So by simply saying this, it takes you off the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster, and it also keeps the vibration really high around the situation, which, like I mentioned before, will draw in so many really uplifting possibilities rather than that low vibe of doom and gloom. And the third thing is that it creates this energy around positive expectation, which is such an amazing energy because, like I mentioned before, it will bring in, you will start to see different opportunities, different possibilities for what's going on. And as my son said when I was explaining this to him, so Mum, we celebrate our wins and we celebrate our losses because we can learn from them. And that is perfect. If your children can take that away with you, that they're celebrating their wins and they're celebrating the things that don't go so well as well, because they've got something that they can learn from, see the situation from a new perspective, and that positive expectation that something greater is about to manifest for them. It's a totally new world for them. And what I'm going to do for you now, just very quickly, I've got a story here that I want to read you. It's really short, but it will really put in perspective what I've just been talking about this morning. And the story is the story of the Chinese farmer. Some of you may or may not have heard of this before, but I'll just quickly get into it because it really validates exactly what I've been talking about this morning. So, the story of the Chinese farmer. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost a horse. It ran away. And all the neighbours came around that evening and said, "Oh, that's too bad." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back and brought 7 wild horses with it. And all the neighbours came around that evening and said, "Wow, that's great, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, his son, who was attempting to tame one of the horses, and while he was riding the horse, it threw him off and he broke his leg. And all the neighbours came around in the evening and said, "Oh, wow, that's just too bad." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the conscription officers came around looking for people for the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And all the neighbours came round that evening and they said, "Isn't that wonderful?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." It's pretty awesome, isn't it? And even that story, you could probably Google the story of the Chinese farmer. And if that's something that you could read to your child and then explain about how perceiving our events and judging whether it's good or bad. This is empowering for our kids to feel that they are not at the mercy of external circumstances. And so it's also a way of introducing to our children that we really do create our own reality by our thoughts and our beliefs, because they create an emotional charge in our body. Our thoughts create an emotional charge that is then vibrated out into the universe. That's why people talk about gratitude, and that's another Facebook Live that I'll talk about, but that's why people talk about gratitude being so incredibly powerful, because it's such a high vibrational energy, and when we're in that feeling of gratitude, it emanates out of us, and then so many more things will come into our lives to be grateful for. And it's a really lovely energy that if every day we can introduce that into our children's lives as well. So much anxiety comes from kids feeling like they can't control everything, and the wisdom really is that they don't need to control everything. It's not necessary. So I'll leave this with you today to reflect on what I've said. I would really love to hear if this has helped you today. If you could comment in the comments, let me know if this has been really valuable for you, if it's some tips in here that you can take away, and any other comments that you'd like to make that if you'd like to contribute to the conversation would be really wonderful. What I'll do is I'll leave a link below in the comments, which will be to my website, because on my website I have a free ebook which I would love to offer you. All you need to do is place in your name and email address, and it'll be sent straight to your inbox. And the ebook is 7 Secrets to Raising Happy, Confident, Self-Assured Children. And in there I give you so many more tips in regards to self-esteem and confidence around children and parenting children, as well as you'll be on my email list where I give so many more tools, techniques, ideas, rituals that will help you on a day-to-day basis with caring for your children and how to deal with the challenges that your children will present with, and how you can deal with the challenges of being a parent in this modern day world. I want to thank you once again for being here with me today, and I look forward to speaking with you next week. I'll let you know what the topic is. I'll post it in the Facebook group, and thank you once again. Goodbye.